here with another special report. And before I start, this review will be mostly spoiler-free, but if you like to go into the game totally fresh, then proceed with caution. Prequels have a tall task. They have to spin a compelling yarn without violating existing canon, and preferably without devaluing said canon. It can be a tricky proposition. The Star Wars Obi-Wan series got around that issue by, well, it never really did get around that. Instead, Vader and Kenobi duke it out, and instead of killing each other, they just leave the other for dead. Multiple times. All because they're both alive in the original trilogy. To heck with logic and continuity. The other way to handle that prequel conundrum is to tell a self-contained story with little or no impact on the broader saga. That's the approach taken by 2019's Jedi Fallen Order. If you skipped it, you'd miss nothing of consequence. That said, it told a very good self-contained story dealing with survivors' guilt, despair, loneliness, and an almost nihilistic perspective where the individual is helpless against overwhelming tyranny. In the end, former Jedi Cal Kestis finds a crew of kindred spirits, and even if Cal, Merrin, Seer, and Grease can't stop the Empire on their own, they've at least found each other. 5 years later, the crew is inexplicably disbanded, and Cal is working with rebel terrorist Saul Guerrera. I mean, isn't that exactly what fans wanted? But put aside the story for a moment. The original made you feel like you yourself were Force sensitive. Not since the Force Unleashed did any game create that level of power fantasy, and the sequel follows suit. In combat. Unfortunately, the battle sequences are wedged between a sprawling adventure in the vein of Tomb Raider or Uncharted. That doesn't always work, and sometimes just outright kills the pacing. With the original, I sometimes had more fun watching it than playing it, and Jedi Survivor gave that exact same impression within about 5 minutes. Clunky controls, wonky platforming, and a mostly useless navigation system make it a chore to traverse between action sequences, which are just fantastic, mind you. The battle system improves on the original by going from 2 to 5 lightsaber stances, including new twin blade and crossguard styles, channeling your inner Kylo Ren. Unlike the original, Jedi Survivor borrows some of the best Dark Souls tropes, so parrying, dodging, and darting in and out to strike, plus bonfires in the form of meditation points which respawn enemies, and penalties for dying like lost XP and reduced HP. This time your lightsaber is a little bit less like a wiffle ball bat, and you'll occasionally lop off limbs in a PG-13 sort of way. I mean, it's Disney and Star Wars, so the gore is always kept to a minimum, though it does make me wonder how that fabled 1313 title might have shaken out, but that's a story for another day. If Jedi Survivor's story lived up to the original, I'd forgive its clumsy platforming. But it doesn't. Most of the plot is an endless series of fetch quests, and the villain, who isn't revealed until the 11th hour, isn't nearly as interesting as the second sister. And again, the story is canonical, but it's almost completely inconsequential to the broader saga. Even less so than the original, where if the villain succeeded, it at least could have had catastrophic implications. If the story is secondary for you, and if you appreciate a complete lack of handholding to say the least, then Jedi Survivor is the bee's knees. Otherwise, you might have more fun watching it on YouTube than playing it. So I give Star Wars Jedi Survivor 3.5 joysticks out of 5. Thanks for joining me for another special report. Please remember to like this video and subscribe to my televisual program, and I'll see you next time. This is Jim at Midnight signing off.